Now, speaking of the cost of math lessons and cutbacks and things that we're not getting put into the system, let's move on to the case of Nadhim Zahawi, the Tory chairman who, if he wasn't an MP, would probably be battling Suella Braverman right now not to be put on a plane to Rwanda. Now, this is all over £3.7 million of tax the tax man said he owed on a sale of £27 million worth of shares. I wonder why they're on a different planet, Darren. These kind of numbers, none of us are ever going to see these kind of numbers in our bank accounts, are we? It came to a head last year when he paid it all back after a long investigation with a fine of more than £1 million, which indicates the level of wrongdoing that HMRC thinks was involved in it. Now, it seems, Darren, like his party is now turning against Nadhim, having decided that he's just going to stick it out and everything will be fine and not resign. Big names are starting to come forward, say he should step down as Tory chairman while the investigation's going on. And here we have a story by our colleague Mikey Smith that his £3.7 million tax bill was exactly the same size and big enough to wipe out all the tax rises that he backed for his constituents in Stratford-upon-Avon. Now, that kind of really uncomfortable fact, I don't know how many people in Stratford-upon-Avon read the Mirror, but we should probably be dropping it from planes over the town right about now so everyone can make sure they see it. It may well be, his party seems to be turning on him, but the voters just are never going to forgive him, are they?
It kind of makes me think about those films. And to be clear, he's yet to be found guilty of any wrongdoing. He denies any wrongdoing, etc., etc. But I do think of those mafia movies where basically people sit around a table and say, "Why would you take a chance?" Suddenly the word is out, and that people are ready to cut him loose. Caroline Nokes, of course, is a top Tory. She's come out and said that he should go, big name Tory. And she's basically said that, I think I've got the quote here, just find it here. I think Nadhim needs to come clean.
Yeah.
I think he needs to come clean on all the questions. That phrase, come clean, really did strike me, I've got to say. On all the questions being posed by journalists and others. We need clarity. It's a really difficult situation when you're pretty much leading the news. I mean, that's as clear as damn it, isn't it?
It's clear as damn it. I was listening to the radio this morning. Claire says if he was a single mother on benefits, he'd be sent to prison. He'd already be in prison, probably, Claire. But yeah, you're quite right. He would be treated very differently. Any other child of Iraqi refugees who came to this country and had all the benefits of education in this country and then didn't pay his goddamn tax bill would be on a plane to Rwanda. That's that. Leslie says, whatever happened to the conflict of interest that would have ensured Nadhim never gained the position he had? Conflict of interest appeared to happen to other people. We had this from the BBC chairman yesterday who helped arrange Boris's loan just before getting the job of running the state broadcast. Who said there was no conflict of interest. Mate, doesn't matter. That's I checked with the cabinet secretary. Oh, really? You checked with the person who works for Boris that it was okay to do that for Boris? Right. Okay. Nice one. Doesn't look bad. Doesn't smell bad. No, definitely conflict of interest. But I was listening to the radio this morning. There was someone saying, look, Sunak didn't know about all this till recently. He wasn't told. And that's one of the things. Number 10 is briefing against Zahawi now. They're saying that Sunak wasn't told about the tax affairs when he appointed him. Clean hands, so honestly. But the Mirror reported in 2013, 10 years ago now, that Zahawi was heating his stables with money claimed from the taxpayer and parliament expenses. Soon after, it was reported that he had bought a more than £1 million house in his constituency via trust in Gibraltar. Now, those things aren't illegal, but they do imply that perhaps there's some things going on financially in Gibraltar you might want to look into, doesn't it? Then there was the President's Club scandal, where waitresses were being groped by some of the high and mighty, and Zahawi was at that party. He said he left. He felt uncomfortable. He didn't tell anybody about it until after he was found out, of course. Last year, The Independent reported on this missing tax payment, and he issued immediate legal threats against The Independent. Bloggers, tax lawyers were commenting publicly on it and getting threatened with lawsuits by Zahawi's legal firm, or his lawyers. And all they had to do when they appointed him, Darren, was a Twitter search or a Google. And then they would have found out the things that were being said about Zahawi and the questions that were raised. And they could have gone and looked into it and asked him, is this okay, Nadhim? Why didn't Sunak know what everyone else has known for years, in some cases, months at worst, which is that Nadhim Zahawi has some very opaque financial arrangements that it's probably worth having a look at. Why didn't he? Does he not read the papers? Doesn't he read the Mirror, Darren?
Well, sadly not. Although he can get it on tablet or iPad or in print online. So if he does want to get a hold of it, he's been saying that it's careless, as I understand it. But he's got a form for being careless, because you mentioned a couple of those examples, and didn't he say in 2013 that he'd been careless in putting in the expenses claim for those stables in Warwickshire? And then when a paper, I think it was the Sunday Times, submitted a Freedom of Information request around Greensill, and he forgot that he'd exchanged text messages with David Cameron at the
from his phone, just carelessly, not deliberately.
Initially, he said that no such messages existed, and then he said, "Oh my goodness, they've been deleted," but I don't know how they've been deleted. Again, you've got a pattern there. I have to stress for all the viewers, and if his lawyers are watching, he's not being found guilty of any wrongdoing, and he does deny anything untoward.
A pattern of carelessness, Darren, does very much imply that perhaps that person should be given the care of a country. Just saying.